Hi everyone, this is Ganesh Yirrinki and I represent Hyderabad School of Learning. We are exclusively into Pearson Test of English, and this course is meant for people who would like to pursue their opportunities abroad. And we are currently leading in India both the online and classroom training for Pearson Test. And this is a video which is meant only for building vocabulary, and one of the ways that we have found out to ensure that the people can also build their vocabulary via certain ways. And in this video, this is the first video for vocabulary, which is free. And of course, as I said, we are currently leading in India with respect to Pearson Test of English. And in case somebody would like to write this exam, and before one aspires to get good score in Pearson Test of English, we recommend people to be good at in grammar also. So we have multiple ways wherein we can help people to become strong both in English language and also in terms of vocabulary building. And subsequently one can definitely look for Pearson Test of English training. Of course, simultaneously they can do that, and they can definitely aspire for a good score. And if someone wants to build their grammar, or if someone wants to be good at uh, grammar, of course, English grammar, subsequently English excellence rather, or excellence in this language, one would better also prescribe for our sessions, grammar sessions by Ganesh. You can go to YouTube and you can search by this name, and you should be able to find a video which is a demo rather, which is for 42 minutes. And then in case somebody gets impressed, and if somebody would like to go for our around 12 hours of 10 to 12 hours of grammar sessions via watching that, and then they can write back to us, training at HSL Academy, to prescribe for those. And in this video, we would like to let you know how to build your vocabulary, and there are multiple ways of building one's vocabulary, of course. And then one of the ways is right in this slide. You can see how people can actually build their vocabulary. Of course, one cannot aspire to become strong in vocabulary just by overnight, and it's too much of an expectation. So one would better have an incremental approach, a strategic approach rather. And there are many ways, of course. But of course, first thing that I would recommend people is to cultivate the habit of reading, at least to start with a newspaper. And vocabulary can be built also. One of the ways is this. So you can also build vocabulary via word associations, via root based, via mnemonics, and we have fishbone approach, we have synonym and antonym approach, we have vocabulary via situations, we have vocabulary via types of people. So these are all the ways wherein you can try to increase your vocab. So when I said the word associations could be like this: exuberant behavior, or not. Of course, this will be explained thoroughly later on. But first, you can also try to understand what is meant by vocabulary via mnemonics. Of course, in this video, I'm not getting into this. I'll start with the root-based, but what I mean by mnemonics, which also helps people to understand vocabulary or to build vocabulary this way, which means this is one of the ways wherein you can remember certain words. For example, there is a word called truculent. So the easy way, one of the easy ways to remember this kind of a word is truculent me, or truculent made him truculent because it troubled him a lot. So truculent is something which actually troublesome type, which irks you. Whereas maybe you can look at a word called gregarious is a person who is very much sociable. He would like to be always surrounded by people. He never wants to be alone. So Greg is very sociable. This way what happens, you can easily remember. Amiable. Amy is friendly, which means amiable means friendly. So this may be misconstrued. Constable missed truth, or interpreted incorrectly. So it means what misconstrued means, when you interpret something incorrectly is called misconstrued. So these are some of the ways wherein you can easily remember. These can actually get registered in your mind. For example, there is a word called perfunctory. So there is no fun in the function. Perfunctory is something which is very routine. There is no fun. It is very, very dull rather, something like that. So that is one of the ways which we will talk about them later on. But I just would like to let you know how to build vocabulary. That is one of the ways. But to start with, let us start with the root-based vocabulary, of course. And there are certain roots through which, of course, I would like to help you in remembering, or let's say in identifying the base meaning of a word. For example, maybe on the left hand side you can see a root word called flux or flu, which means it's maybe when you have a word which has got flux or flu, this means flow or wave. For example, when you look at a word called affluent, ent usually means full of. A flu means flow. If F means towards type. So affluent meaning, which is meaning full of money flowing. Actually, affluent is a person who has got a lot of money. Of course, he's very rich category type. So that's how we can remember. Of course, so the root itself shows flu wherever you have. Mostly, it indicates the sense of flow. So when money flows with a person, so we usually call them affluent. And see, there is a word called confluent. C-O-N con or C-O-co means together. And FLU flu means, of course, there's a root I have explained here. Con means together, and FLU flu means flow, and ENT means full of. Anything that flows together is called confluent. So which means running together. When you see crowd running together, so we can say confluent. Maybe sometimes you see water from different streams, it runs together type. So confluence is something which runs together, crowd rather. And maybe you can see there is something called effluent. Effluent, EFF means out as a root word, and flow means FLU flu means flow, and ENT means full of. Anything that gets out or anything that flows out is called effluent. So you'll also see some of the effluents getting out of the industries. And there is something called superfluous. Superfluous is something, flu means, of course, again, super means above, FLU flu means flow, OUS means full of, anything that flows over, superfluous, it's a overflow rather. And there is, look at this beautiful word, mellifluous. And flu means, as I said, flow, and melly means anything that's sweet, anything that is really pleasant, anything that sweet, or maybe you can say sweetly, anything that flows sweetly. Mellifluous. When somebody sings also, right? Maybe you see that it flows very sweetly rather. The way he sings, mellifluous, we say. So anything that is very pleasantly flowing rather. So there is something called fluctuation. Fluct also means what? Maybe flow, or sorry, maybe you can say wavering. Fluct means wave. You know, anything that waves or anything that shakes. Fluctuation is maybe you might see that sometimes you also fluctuate before taking a decision. It means what you always wave, means what you shake, means what you hesitate a lot, you think a lot. Can I take contact? Can I take contact? Kind of a stuff. So that state of yes no type, right? The state of wherein it's a state wherein you keep wavering, whether I can take this or not. So a lot of hesitation goes on. That is called fluctuation rather. Fluct itself is a root which indicates wave. So these are the ways, some of the ways, maybe when you keep reading a newspaper also, when you see a word, so when you remember this kind of root words, what happens, right? This actually flashes in your mind when you read newspapers. So contextually, you can try to understand the meaning of a word. So on the right hand side, can you see a word, maybe certain roots called verboha, verbi, which means what? Word. Maybe verbalize means what? When you express something in words, verbal, right? That is called verbalize. Verbiage means verbosity, wordiness, in the sense when maybe imagine when somebody speaks or when somebody writes, and it has got, imagine when somebody speaks and it has got a lot of diction, lot of vocab, right? We say that his presentation has got a lot of verbiage, right? Verbose also we can say, excessive number of words. Sometimes when somebody speaks, instead of saying we can always say that someone, maybe the woman is beautiful, but rather if you try to express the same sentence in using too much of vocab and all that, that is called verbose style of presenting something. So that is called verbose. That's a root word, verbi, right? Which means word, too much of wording rather. And then there is something called, maybe on the left hand side you can see amble or amble, which means walk. On the left hand side you can see ambulatory means what? Able to walk. Amble means walk, terry pertaining to, so pertaining to walk. So maybe you have something called perambulate, right? Sometimes you also see in cities when people live in the apartments, there is no space for the kids to be taken out. So what do the parents do? They buy a perambulator. They go to a shop. They buy a perambulator. Perambulator is a maybe it's a baby. You can see it's a baby walker type. So they place the baby in the perambulator and they take them out, so it's walking through or around. Preamble means walk again. All right, preamble means, of course, it's walking. So we have a preamble to the Constitution, which actually walking through the entire Constitution in the beginning itself. Before you read the entire Constitution, which is not possible, of course, for everybody. So, but when you read the preamble, you'll at least get the glance of what exactly is inside. Maybe it's a walking through the entire Constitution in nutshell. It's called preamble. And ramble is, again, amble is again what walking, right? So when a person walks without any aim, of course, without any destination in his mind, that is called ramble. And somnambulist is a person. Amble again is what walk. Somna means sleep type anything. S-O-M-N. Refers to sleep. So anything, he's a person who walks in sleep is called somnambulist. Maybe on the other side, you can see a word called OUT out, which means, meaning itself is out, right? Outlandish. Outlandish is something which is out of fashion, rather out of usage, out of existence, something that appears odd for people. Outlandish, out of the land means what? Out of usage, you can call it, out of usage, right? Outmoded is again same as outlandish. Outmoded is out of usage or outdated, anything obsolete rather. Outwit means outsmart, excel, right? Cleverness or cunning, of course. Outspoken means what? A person who can express with great clarity. Outspoken, we call him. Outspoken is a person, right, wherein you try to surpass others. You try to be excellent when compared to other people around. Outlast is anything that doesn't last anymore, right? It's gone. Lasting. Sorry, outlast is last longer than, of course, in the sense it would last forever type. Outfox, outwit like a fox. It's again a root word, right, which is the combination of. And now we can see this is an easy one to remember row. So on the left hand side you can see there is a root called mal, mal. Mal means bad, whereas the opposite is what? Bene means good. Ben or bene means good. So look at on the left hand side there is a word called malevolent. VOL, vol means root word again wish. Mal means bad, evil. Evil wish. ENT means full of, which you know. So as you keep listening to this kind of audios quite often, these roots actually get deep rooted. They get registered in your mind. So look at this word. Mal means bad. VOL. Wall means a wish. So bad wish. That is ENT means full of. So when a person's mind is full of bad wishes, right? He always crowded with maybe bad things. He always wishes to do something bad to others. That is called, such attitude is called malevolent attitude. And malcontent means what? Mal means we know bad. Content means, of course, we know malcontent. Maybe content also means some other meaning is satisfaction. Malcontent is what? When you are not satisfied, we call it malcontent. Malediction. Malediction. Malediction means dict is to speak. That's a root word, D-I-C-T. Dict is to speak. And mal means bad. And a person who speaks always bad is called malediction. And malefactor. Malefactor, F-A-C, fac. Again, root means to do. And mal means, of course, bad or evil. A person who would like to always do something bad is called malefactor. He always tries to do something evil, always tries to do something bad for others is called malefactor. Odor, O-D-O-R, odor means we know smell, right? Mal means what? Bad, bad smell. O-U-S means full of. When something gives you a foul smell all through, that is called malodorous. On the other side, you can see bene means good. Benediction again, so we have, which is opposite to malediction. Benediction, bene means what? Good. Dict is to speak, and a person who always speaks something good. Right. We say it, benediction. And a benefactor, again, if I say fact means what to do, and a bene means what good. A person who would like to do always something good to others is, we say benefactor. Beneficent, you must have heard about this word. Bene means good, fic is what to do, again, FAC, or if I say fic means to do. And a benefactor means a person who would like to do something good for others. Benevolent. VOL wall means you have already know that. You have already known about VOL. Wall means the wish, you can say. And Bene means good, a person who always wishes something good for others. We can name them as, benevolent. So this is our first video. In the second video, you'll come to know more about certain root words. So look for it.